Welcome to The Smart Athlete. Insightful conversations with some of the smartest athletes, coaches, and trainers around the world. In these conversations, we hear future goals, daily habits, and the nuanced steps of the athlete en route to successful craft, all hosted by Britt Smart.
All right, so today we have Lewis Roberts, or AKA Mr. Holistic. Is that what it is on Instagram?
Yeah, MrHolisticBody. Yeah, that's the one.
Body, Mr. Holistic Body. Check him out on Instagram, and his wife at Mrs. Holistic Body. And you guys have a business together called, what is it called?
Body and Sync Health Hub. So yeah, not just a strength and conditioning, looking the whole picture, I guess. So my wife is a nutritionist, massage therapist, naturopath. So we we want to look at, because there's plenty of gyms that just will get you in there, flog the hell out of you and put you out the door, but it's trying to educate people, I guess.
Well, that sounds like a smart athlete to me, and that's why you're on the podcast. No, you're doing some really good stuff. We met maybe only just 6 or 7 months ago through kind of a coach's mentorship online, Real Movement Coaches. And I've really just respected how you go about yourself, how you handle yourself as an athlete. And I only know you just kind of towards the end of your career. But, you know, I know something that you're chasing is longevity, pain-free longevity and health, like you said, in a holistic way, on and off the field, as you have had a great footy career, which I'm excited to even learn more about. So if we just start from the beginning, a little bit about your background, how you got started in footy. Did you play other sports? What drew you to that sport? And any Americans out there, footy is Aussie rules football. So go ahead and Google that and check it out. It's a pretty dynamic, awesome sport. It makes me a little bit panicky, but I do appreciate the physicality of that. And the fact that you played it for a long time is really amazing. So go off on tangents. Tell us just a little bit about your background up to this point.
So yeah, cheers, thank you. I grew up in a little country town in New South Wales. So it's pretty much, and even for your American, it's pretty much halfway between Sydney and Melbourne. That's the easiest way to describe it. It's like 5 hours each way. So it's because of that location, it's Aussie rules, Australian rules football and rugby league. It's pretty much a 50-50 sort of area. So I got into Aussie rules. You know, the little country town I'm from, for people, is when I grew up was about 1,200 people. So it's quite a little small town. And you start playing footy at a very young age, just because being a small country town, we don't have great numbers. So I remember got thrown into playing under 8s when I was 5. So you're just this little kid playing with my brother's team, who's a little bit older than me, because they just needed the numbers. So, you know, that's how you get it. And sport back in the country is that's all there is. Like, you just do that 24/7 and you play anything. Like, you know, you might go and play a bit of golf or tennis on the weekend, or, you know, school holidays were just full of sport. It was, what can we do today to pass the time away? There was it's probably showing my age, but there was no screens back in those days. So it was, you know, Nintendo and stuff were coming through, but we were quite content to go and play cricket at the Oval or footy or that sort of stuff. So, you know, sport was just always something that was around me. So it was impossible to escape. So that's how I got into footy. And then it was probably, and my dad says, like, footy was something I did till I was about 11. And he said, and then something happened when I was 11 that just, like, a competitive instinct where it was like, I don't like losing. So
yeah,
sort of all switched then, and that's when, you know, you make representative teams and that sort of thing. So that was when you realize, okay, I can actually, like, play this game and go from there. But I had to make a choice between that and cricket. When you get to, I'm not sure what it's like in the States, but here they've got like an under-18s comp for football that is like the precursor to the AFL, and so you really have to. It's like it's the best under-18s comp in Australia. At that stage, there was teams in Canberra, Melbourne, Queensland would play, so it was almost like that's where you were in front of the scouts every weekend. And I had to make that decision: do I fully commit to football or do I chase cricket? And now the only reason I loved football more, but it's also, when you looked at the scheme of things, cricket's a lot smaller base. Like, there's only 11 on a team. So I went after football. I enjoyed football more. I enjoyed swimming as well when I was a kid. I swam state level swimming, but that was almost not forced on me, but I just didn't like. It's a very lonely sport, swimming.
Yep.
So I enjoyed it and was okay at it, but it was never going to be a thing I chased. So yeah, as you progress through the ranks, and then with footy, I ended up going over and playing footy in Adelaide.
Oh, okay.
Over there for a couple of years. Then had a family illness. So my grandma, who I was really close to, got sick. So I actually moved to Canberra.
Oh.
Yeah, I was in Canberra for 3 years. I really enjoyed my time in Canberra. At that stage, the Canberra Football League was a really strong one, and we won the national championships a couple of years in a row. So it was outside of the AFL and say the VFL, it was probably one of the stronger leagues around. So I enjoyed my time there in Canberra, and then moved down to Melbourne in 2005 and played down this way. So it's sort of been the journey. I've been lucky enough to win 9 championships or 9 premierships across the journey. So that's been it's been pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
Which was probably why it was an easy way for me to walk away this year as well. So my body's sort of told me that I've had enough of probably playing football with a hip issue that I've got. So it was easy. It was an easy decision. Like a few people were like, are you really sad? I'm like, well, I'm a little bit, but it's been taken out of my hands, and I don't really. It'd be probably different if I was trying to chase my first championship, but I've won a few, so it's been an easy transition, I guess.
Well, 9 is more than a few. It's almost a full 2 hands.
No, 10 would have been nice. I laugh with Court with that. I'm like, 10 would have been a nice round number, but it is what it is. Can't complain.
And touching on the championships and winning, a lot of times success can produce for some complacency, and not think, I've already done what I've set out to do, which is winning championships, at least in the physical goal of why you start playing sports and that competition. What were some things that avoided, that kept that competitive mindset that kind of like you said, you were always competitive. That's why you started in it. After winning so many, what kept that drive or kept you going?
It was lucky, like 6 of them were won at the one club. They were just, so I was playing in the same league against them, and they were like 3 years in a row, and they had a bunch of kids, like, they maybe had a couple of older guys, but they had a bunch of kids, and they were getting beaten in the preliminary final. So, just before, that's what, in basketball, I think that's the equivalent of like the Western or Eastern Conference. So it's like, you haven't quite made the grand final. So they had a really good bunch of kids, but they'd been heartbrokenly beaten 3 times in a row at the preliminary final. So I think the last time they got beaten in the prelim final, it just steeled them that they never wanted to feel like that again.
Yeah.
So I think, through disappointment, that's where the fire came from. And then, once we won, I went there the next year. Then once we won the first one, it was almost the flip of that as well. And I want to feel that again.
Yep.
But they were very driven. Like it's probably one of the strongest leagues in Melbourne. But even other teams would look at us and go, you look different. Like we were so much bigger. The guys really looked after themselves. They were stronger. Like, we wanted to play one of the VFL teams in a practice game, and they wouldn't play us.
Really? They didn't trust themselves.
Embarrassed if they got beaten, so they wouldn't play us. So
wow.
They were pretty driven, but there was also, they won 6 out of 7 years. So we won 3 in a row, and then we got heartbreakingly beaten in a extra time preliminary final. And again, I think that drove the group to be like, all right, we need to, because I think maybe a bit of complacency did come in that 4th year.
Yeah.
We got what we deserved, and then again, it was that drive again for 3 years. So, they were just very driven. But I think it always comes from disappointment. You'd be the same. Like if you have a year, you just get pipped, it's just like that fire burns that you just don't want to feel like that. And also for me, like I know I won 9, but I've also at one stage right at the start of my career, I lost 5 in a row. I've been lucky. I nearly played in grand finals every year, but not nearly, but I lost 5 in a row. So that, like, I remember after the last grand final, just being on the ground, just going, like, I don't know if I can do this again, because I take my footy seriously. Like, I'll train nearly all year. All that time and all that effort, and then you've lost your 5th grand final in a row. It's like, it was really disheartening. So for me, it was easy to keep backing up because I remember what it was like to be on the other end.
Oh yeah. I mean, when you lose, it's pretty painful. And so you try to stay away from that as much as possible. And anytime you don't want to do a workout or something like that, that feeling comes back and you think, no, I better get that workout in.
Yeah. It's the fine balancing act is not going overboard, which I did one year. Like we lost the grand final. I was like, that's it. And just went too far. And then I got OP, osteoarthritis pubis and a few things. And I managed to like get it back under control, but it's fine balance.
Yep.
Let the fire, but don't go too hard.
Well, yeah, because a lot of times people can go too far. They can overtrain or almost punish themselves. Like I made a mistake. So, that just eats at them rather than learning from it. And maybe you do need to take more action, but doing it in a punishment way. Or if you eat a donut, maybe you shouldn't eat a donut, or just different things through life, even if it has nothing to do with physicality, maybe it's something with relationships or you've made a mistake in just life in general. That punishment sometimes can be done through exercise, or that's how they perform, that's what they deserve. And we've talked a lot about this through the mentorship stuff as well, is just that balance of, not every day training the same energy system, where you're going out and you think the only time that you get a good workout in is sweats on the floor and working hard and balls to the wall and all that stuff. And I think I've done a little bit of that, myself, and that mindset of mine is changing a little bit. But yeah, tell us a little bit about your thoughts of how you kept fresh, how maybe you've made some mistakes in the past, whether that has been through overtraining, the adversity of getting injured, and just a little bit of that off the court stuff, or off the field stuff, I should say.
Well, I definitely wish I had found real movement years ago. I definitely had it when I'm in my early 20s, because I definitely didn't. Like, I was a person that would just run, which is, great. Aussie Rules is a game that you need to run a lot. Like, I think in my last year, my GPS, I think it'll be around 13 to 14 kilometers most games. So it's
really good
running, but I wish I had been a bit smarter in what I did. I didn't actually get into lifting until I was probably 30.
Okay.
I was naturally always around 95 to 98 kilos. So weights for me, I was like, I don't really need it too much. But as I said, I wish I really had got into it when I was a lot younger and trained a lot smarter. Because as we, and you probably would have been the same. Some of the older school, that's still around in footy. There's like old school coaches who just want to make you run a drop. Now, is that probably going to be beneficial on a Thursday night before a Saturday game? It's probably not. But I think riding has been one thing that's been good for me as I've gotten a little bit older as well. So I do ride my bike a little bit, try and get out for a couple of rides a week. Just because it's that, I mean, that's for me more than anything is like a mental just escape. So I'll get on my bike with my headphones in and maybe listen to a podcast. And it's just that, I actually do a lot of my thinking when I'm out on the road, like the ideas for business or for at home or whatever I'm doing, for some reason will come to me when I'm either running or riding. So that's been a good one. But yeah, I think I got into CrossFit when I was about 30, I think, maybe 29, 30, when I went back home to coach which was awesome. I got to coach my senior club back home. So I went home to the country for a few years, and one of the sponsors was a guy that was from my country town, had the CrossFit gym in Wagga, and came to me and said, could we sponsor you guys? I was like, sure. He goes, we'll come down for a session. I was like, cool. And I'd been someone who'd been to the gym, but I was a guy that'd go in, maybe do a program for 2 weeks, get bored shitless, because it'll be your general PTs. It's 5 sets of this, 5 sets of that. Like, it wasn't an engaging program, so I would do it for 2 or 3 weeks. But it was never someone who stuck to anything. I wasn't a gym junkie, but as soon as I started CrossFit, where it was more the functional side of things with squattings and cleans and all that stuff, I was like, whoa, this stuff's awesome. So that's how I got into lifting, and I'm glad I did. I wouldn't have played footy for so long if I hadn't got into it. My body would have broken down well before if I hadn't got strong. So good tip for any, especially older athletes, is you need to lift and do strength stuff. Otherwise, nagging groin pain, nagging whatever is just going to get worse.
Want to be a smart athlete? Be Smart Athletic provides a versatile protocol for pain-free longevity. To learn more about our SMART programs, follow me on Instagram at BeSmartAthletic or visit BrittSmart.com to get in touch.
I found I had to train more as I got up, not a little bit more, but I had to continue doing stuff. You see a lot of guys at football who, once they get to say 32, will do 50% of training on a Tuesday night, join in for a bit of and they really back, but then they wonder why they get injured, do soft tissue.
Yep.
They don't have the work. So
yep.
Yeah, so that's sort of how I got into lifting, and I found real movement through. I was lucky, one of the first gyms. So, and to get into coaching, it was more through my wife. She's like, I don't know why you don't do this. People will ask me, I'd help people do some things, and so have you thought about doing this? And so I was helping people, but not in an official capacity. She's like, why don't you go do your cert 3 and 4 and just see what happens? I was working in disabilities at the time. I still do a little bit of disability work, but so I went and did it and loved it. And then I got a movement through the first gym I worked at. He just said, look, he gave me I had a welcoming pack for the gym. They were pretty professional. And then he just had 2 pages. He said, go follow these people and you'll find the people you like. And one of them was Keegan. And I was like, oh, I really like what this guy's doing. The knees over toe wasn't on there. Then I found him through Keegan. But that's how I got into raw movement as well. I was lucky that he gave me that sheet of paper, looked everyone up online as everyone can do these days. And I was like, oh, I really like, because it was that holistic approach. Some of the other guys were just your strength and conditioning guys, which are like, there's hundreds of those guys online. So not saying that they weren't putting out good content, but I did like, the way Keegan delves into not only strength, but mobility, loaded mobility, and really gets into diet. And even so I went to one of his seminars and he was talking about political things where I was like, I've never even I haven't thought of that before. I haven't, so I really liked, that's how I got into raw movement. And, that's how we met. So it's a short snapshot on how a little bit, but you've just got to start looking after your body, especially, when you're young, you can do those silly, crazy CrossFit type workouts and you'll recover fine, but eventually it's going to catch up with you. I think as we've found out, there's a smarter way to do it.
Well, yeah, like you said, it's you do more maintenance is what it is, so to speak. It's almost like, to avoid overtraining, especially as you get older, you do more because, you might have to, do that recovery a bit quicker or do more maintenance, little things, and know that is you're moving forward by doing those little things and staying in the game.
More. I like the real movement and AGT where you nearly train every day, but it's a session 45 minutes to an hour. I find I'm training more as opposed to I'll do huge sessions before where I was, taking it to the well and then you can't move the next day. And even the second day, a little bit, and then by the third day you can train properly again. Whereas that accumulation of all those sessions of the hour sessions, they add up.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like training smarter, not harder. Sometimes training smarter is to train hard and to train harder in certain aspects, but you really do have to have that balance. It's just kind of if you're a really social person and you're going out all the time and chatting, you almost need to have that equal balance of alone time, downtime, recovery time. And I think sometimes, especially the old school way, it was go hard or go home, and you thought you had to do that mentality every single time. But having that balance and just like real movement and kind of what you're doing with Court, your wife, and Body in Sync. I always get that confused. Did I say that?
Yeah, good. Body in Sync.
Yes. Thank you. Body in Sync. It's talking about, which I love, obviously, to me, the smart athlete or the smart coach or the smart just human being, is hitting all points of that mindset, vision, nutrition, sleep, even taking care of your money, understanding politics or the way the world's going so you can understand where you fit in your worldview and your place and purpose in the world. And it sounds like, tell us a little bit about Body in Sync and what your goal is with that and your role and Court's role as well, but your role as far as you trying to really be that type of holistic coach now that you're kind of putting the reins on, it's not competing necessarily anymore, even though you're still trying to have personal athletic goals. So tell us a little bit about your coaching and your business.
We dodged a bullet with COVID because we'd actually agreed to sign a lease for somewhere, but we just hadn't actually got into the real estate to do the physical signing. We definitely dodged a bullet. which was good. So our end goal is to open a holistic health facility that will have, obviously with Court's massage, we'll probably have a physio in there. We would love to eventually have like a float tank and things like that in there as well. That's probably stage 2, but like, so a place that has the gym, yes, but then has got all these other things and all these other, like I'll probably do my nutrition course as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess what we want it to be, calling it Holistic Health Hub, is a one-stop shop for people. So they can come there, if they need nutrition advice, they can get that. Like, there'll be mindset stuff. We'll definitely have a Pilates type teacher as well. So we want it to be that one-stop shop. We've got, at the moment, we're doing a 28-day Kickstart challenge with people. I think we've got close to 40, which has been really cool. Like,
wow.
So it's opened up and people just want to get outside. So it's like super busy, which is really cool. And even with that, like, we're educating people. We gave people guidelines with their nutrition, but we didn't. And one of the things that came back, which we sort of knew was that they wanted actual meal plans, like actually cold eat. Whereas, we did a video last night, posted back to them to say, like, we're not being lazy, we're not giving. So we did actually put a few menus out yesterday with, hey, these are just some quick ideas. But it's about, I guess, and you're the same with your coaching. It's about educating them, but then empowering them to then be able to make those decisions themselves, as opposed to us hand feeding them. Because then, as soon as we finish, or if that 28-day challenge finishes, we sort of said to them, like, if you've learnt nothing, you go back to what you were doing before. Whereas even if it's 1 or 2 habits that you change over this 28 days, that's 1 or 2 habits we've ingrained, and then we start again and go from there. So it's not only about, and it will be the same at the gym, it's about trying to empower and educate at the same time, not just, here, do your 5 sets of 5 and then we're doing some running and rowing or whatever. It's about, and one of the gyms I worked at, I was lucky that they would have the workout on the board, but then the stimulus would be next to it, so what they wanted us to do.
Yep.
Yeah, so if it was a 5x5, it should feel this, and then in the conditioning it would have, we're doing this, we want you to work at this percentage and all that sort of stuff. So it's then giving people, okay, like not just walking aimlessly, walk out, which is fine for some, and some people will want to do that, and at times that's fine if they want to do that. But the whole idea of the Holistic Health Hub will be to not only get people feeling better, but thinking better, recovering better. Then just the education is huge. Like, you would see, like, when people talk to you about sleep, they're like, oh, I get 5 hours, I'm fine. And then you explain to them what goes on and the chances, like 15 years down the track, of getting dementia. And they're like, I didn't even know that. So even like, it's little things like that can make a huge difference to people's lives. So that's, I guess, in a way, is what we want to do, is just make it huge to people's lives, not just the gym.
Well, yeah, it sounds like with all the, your focus of empowering people is you're big on connection and being relatable, meeting the athlete where they need what they need. They may need, like you said, just the massaging more, or maybe they need the nutrition or the Pilates, and you're able to, give them that service, and not even just a service. You want them to have an experience and be able to feel a certain way when they come into your business. And I think that's something that you do really well, because I think we have a good connection, and I've been able to at least draw on your energy on the times that we've chatted, the times that we've worked out, or same with Courtney. So I think that is the baseline behind it all, and therefore that's how you're going to get results, because they actually feel like you've empowered them with knowledge, with love, and mental health and physical health. So I think it's a pretty cool concept.
It's building a community like that. And you've CrossFit,
Yep.
Yeah. It's trying to build, like, you can know when you go into a real good community like CrossFit box, there's just something there, and that's what you need to create at your gym, I think.
Yep. I think that's why we love, being in team sports, is that connection, doing something, accomplishing something great with a group of people that was hard. That's a really good feeling. And then when you win, like you said, that winning feeling, it shouldn't, give you complacency. It should be addictive, that winning feeling. And that's maybe something that you were able to achieve with yourself and also portray into other people. And you're able to, keep winning and have a buy-in, and everyone believes and trusts and empowers each other and believes in their skills.
Definitely. If you play team sport, you live for that final buzzer or final siren to go when you've won the grand final. So you live for that, and then the next sort of hour, I reckon, is the best time. Like when you play, like all those hard training sessions and all, turning up when it's raining and all that sort of stuff it's all worth it for that hour after that grand final.
Oh yeah, for sure. So just to wrap up, what are some, and I'm all about the, all around smart athlete or what makes an athlete smart, but what are some, maybe 2 or 3 things that you think is either important or something that you do every day that, maybe athletes, coaches, people to help kind of make that all encompassing, or a few things that really has worked for you to be a smart athlete, to have been able to play for a long time, and now will continue to reach your personal goals and also make you a smart coach?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. I would say definitely, like, mobility is huge for athletes as they move forward. It's maybe not something that people will think about in their early 20s, but definitely something that needs to be done. I was always, and it was probably always even below my knees, like my hamstring length and stuff has always been really good. So I've been lucky in that regard. But I think mobility is something that definitely, and we've both done mobility sessions that they're not actually easy. Like when they're done the right way, especially with loaded mobility, is not easy, but it builds really good range and strength in those ranges. And you need it for anyone that plays. So whether it's basketball or football or rugby or whatever, like you need that dynamic strength because it's a dynamic sport. You have to get into positions that are weird and uncomfortable. So if you don't have range there, you're going to get injured. So I definitely think mobility / range of strength, like that loaded mobility. So you guys can look that up, but that would definitely be one thing. I would definitely, and it's probably only been recently, like I've had my Whoop band now for a while, but I would definitely invest in something like that so you can listen to your body more. Because I've found especially that it's been really good to have that info of like when to push and when to pull back. I think that's a big one. And I think that just comes from, and even if you don't need a band as well, but you just got to internally know, I think you've got to know your own body.
Yeah.
Well, so get to know your body, get to know what works. If you've got a program that you're doing or you're doing something that's just, and your performance isn't there, you've got to look at what's going on with your whole life, really. So they're probably 2 things, and just your diet. Diet's huge. Like you can't out-train a bad diet. Like the people that go and have huge pre-seasons and on top of that eat really well, that's when you can tell like huge. If you would have seen it as well, you especially notice, I think in footy, you notice the guys who are around that like 19, 20 and then sort of just becoming a man as such. When they go away and something clicks and they eat better and they have a really big pre-season, like they come back and they look like a man. So I think your nutrition is huge. Yeah, mobility, get to know your body, and nutrition is huge. So I think they're the 3 things that they will keep you in the game for a whole lot longer than the average.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, that produces longevity. Life is a game, being able to get up and play with your kids and play with your dogs or grandkids or, getting around your house and all that stuff. Recovery, being kind to your body, listening to it. What does it feel like? Just being in tune and in sync with it. And then, stretching, like all those things that seem old school and go stretch, but find a coach that's able to give you a protocol of stretching, what movements to do every day, how long you hold it, and actually make it like you would follow a strength program, which I think you and I both learned through real movement.
Of stretching, which I've never done either. I would also add in, be a bit stubborn. And I don't mean that as in like ignore things, but like you're going to have injuries. Like if you play sport, something's going to happen. And the worst thing you can do is throw in the towel. The best thing you can do is go, that's not going to stop me. I'm going to find, all right, I've got a roadblock in front of me, but I'm going to get around it and get to where I've had knee surgery, back surgery twice. And you just figure a way. There's ways around it. So it's just, for anyone out there, don't give up. You might need an ankle reconstruction. You might need X or Y, but there's always a way around it. Be stubborn and just think, I'm going to get through this.
That's right. Be proactive. So something happens to you, you might have initial reaction, but not to, just sort of let it fall, but be proactive and figure out a way to still reach your goals, even though it may look different or puts you on a different path or journey.
Yeah, definitely.
But all right, no, that's really good. LUDUS mobility, recovery, nutrition, be stubborn, aka don't give up. You can see that competitive attitude that Lou has.
I'm going to have a little pity party when they get injured, but then acknowledge it and then move on. You can do it.
Yep, that's right. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't feel a certain way or feelings are wrong, that we ignore them. You still need to address them, but still be on your way.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Lou. I really, really appreciate it. Keep up what you're doing. I love following you on Instagram, and I'll put all of your social stuff in the show notes and stuff. So really appreciate you coming out.
Cheers. Thanks for having me on.
All right. See ya.
Bye.
This episode of The Smart Athlete was proudly engineered and released by the LUDUS.